Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Daily Debated.
Stop because.
Huh?
Are we gonna have a problem, guys?
Yeah, Greg's already talking-ish.
You have to keep us muted.
I'll keep your face muted, boy. Tell you what.
You should.
Anyways, in this corner, the rude dude, who is also crude, the ginger himself, Greg Prince.
I thought that was going to be your announcement.
Ginger snaps.
Not
In
a
the
ginger.
other corner, the one, the only. You can't teach an old dog new tricks, but you
Look at
also
that
can't
thing.
teach Liam Maxwell new tricks.
What's he trying to show us?
I don't know.
He's trying to show us something.
That's just the gym.
He's trying to show you the gun show, but unfortunately, he left them unloaded.
I got to pump
Bummer.
in. Is that camera big enough to see these?
You're always
And joining you,
You're always framed improperly.
What?
You
What are you
always.
talking
the
about?
only professional on this podcast, Nathanael Levinson, the only one deserving of air horns, not just because I forgot.
Back in the producer's chair, Mr. Levinson.
Indeed.
Levinson
indeed.
Gould.
Took a week off there. Yeah, you're always framed wrong. You're supposed to be like rolled over properly where the chair starts.
Is that
and
my fault?
Every time you sit, you like roll that way and you
Yeah,
angle yourself.
I just
Yeah.
keep it.
Sorry,
I kind of keep it casual.
Pause.
Okay.
Who else's fault would it be, Liam?
The microphone is set up angled like this when I walk in. So, hey, I sit down.
Angled like
I sit down and I go aligned with the microphone and I call it a day.
Okay. It's not really a problem.
We're loosey goosey. I'm loosey goosey over here.
Wow.
I'm the talent. I get casual. You know.
Speaking of talent, the writers of this
Keep
movie.
using the word. I do not think it means what you think it means.
So we watched two movies this week, as we normally do, of the same name, and they were definitely movies.
Yep.
They
these
were
movies-
some of
these
the
movies were
movies ever.
There's
They are some of the movies of all time. I think I can
It's one of my
confidently say.
favorite things to say. It never gets old. If you just that was one of the movies of all time.
It also applies to literally everything in life. You could say that about anything.
Right, like you watch a sports game. That was one of the games of all time.
Yeah, that was a
It's
game
boring.
ever.
I think this might take the cake though and qualify most for being the movie of all time because I'm not gonna lie, chat audience, there's not a whole lot to be said.
This might
movie.
be okay. We might actually come in under 60 minutes.
Might
on
be
this
a 10-minute
podcast. I mean, we're
podcast.
gonna go until
We're
we're
already
already done
done.
to say. I'm like, okay, ready for me to. Usually we're gonna like break some of the movie. Let me do my summary before you do yours. Summary.
Okay.
all right.
Ready? Here's the
Switch-
summary of the movie.
switching it up.
Here's the summary. Bark, bark, wah, wah, meow, meow, bark, bark. That's
Yeah.
that's the movie.
And whatever noise a rat makes.
Bella notte. That's it. That's the movie.
The whatever noise the rat, the demon rat. That's a scary rat.
Yeah. What,
So just to let the audience know, we watched Lady and the Tramp. Both,
and then we watched Lady and the Tramp.
we watched Lady and the Tramp, neither of which were called Lazy and the Damp.
Nope.
But we did think that was a catchy name. We thought
And,
it was
there,
catchy.
and there's a reason for that name.
It's because
Spoiler alert, because it was both of those adjectives.
it was both damp and lazy.
And lazy.
We were damp when we watched it.
Yes,
We watched it
in the
not.
hot tub,
I wasn't.
baby. And usually when we watch hot tub movies, I mean, we're finally back in hot tub movie weather. We've been so happy because it's actually cool at night, and so we can actually sit in the hot tub and just soak and enjoy it. And it's nice. It's cold outside. It's warm in the hot tub. It's great. This was one movie, Transformers 4, was just so long we had to get out of the hot tub because we were pruning up.
Yeah.
And then this movie, we're sitting there.
It's not even that it was that long.
It's not
It
even
was
that long. We're
just-
sitting there, and it was right after the spaghetti scene in the live action. And I'm like, Greg, see how much longer is left? And it's like little less than halfway. And I just go, and generally speaking, that's not a good review for your movie.
We were like, there can't be much more, right? And then we click pause, and it's like an hour has elapsed. There's an hour left. We're like, oh.
Well, I think it's funny that on the last podcast we mentioned that we didn't remember anything but the spaghetti scene. And I think I currently, in my state right now, don't remember anything.
After
with the
watching
spaghetti scene.
both of these movies, it was the only scene in the movie. Okay, no. So we did watch both Lady and the Tramps. I'll give you kind of like a little synopsis of the original. Also, when Nathaniel says hot tub movie, this isn't me and Nathaniel indoors in like a bathtub together. This is a full
No, we're
6-person
outdoors in a bathtub
hot
together.
tub that resides in my backyard, in which there's a projector there.
Greg, I don't know how many people call the bathtub in their home a hot tub.
It's weird you had
Maybe
to
a
clarify
jacuzzi.
that.
It-
You
well,
worried about the perception?
Greg,
Yeah,
are you
maybe-
saying
maybe-
you wouldn't
maybe-
get into a bathtub with me? That
I just
hurts.
want people to think it's cooler than I think it might have sounded there.
We think it's cool. That's all that
we
matters.
sit in a hot tub and we smoke cigars and watch movies
There we go.
and drink whiskey.
and drink whiskey.
Maybe the
It's
cigar.
like,
You
what
need
more
to
do you
add the
want?
cigar thing.
Yeah,
I
it's
think.
I do it
It's
without the
important.
cigar, but the cigar is nice. It's a
Actually,
nice
well,
touch.
funny. I was the one without the cigar last time because I was being a little baby. But
True. I don't want to say it because I don't want to be mean. But
That's weird. It's a weird move.
anyways, okay. So, Lady and the Tramp. This story is very kind of basic dog story. So it opens up. There's a couple on what we think is Christmas morning. The man and the woman, they're a young married couple. He gives her a puppy for Christmas. It's a little girl puppy. She calls it Lady. It's very cute. I mean, the animation is great. It's a charming little puppy. The first scene is kind of some of the growing pains you go through when you own a puppy, which are very relatable. The puppy wants to kind of climb into bed at night and it barks a whole bunch. Or the barking sounds, though, in the
We're so annoying.
were so accurate to annoying puppies barking
man.
that it was like, I don't know if it should be this accurate. You should just make the puppy like actually speaking human talk because later it starts to do that. You should just be like, hey, what's up? And then like that's, but the barking was like piercing.
It made me slightly dislike, like off the rip.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not a fan of Lady.
it was harsh. So she climbs into bed. They're like, okay, just for the night, and then it's a time lapse. She's presumably a year older. I don't know. She's a grown dog now.
she's a grown ass dog.
Wakes up in the bed. The first major plot point is that she goes to get her. They call it a license, but it's a collar.
Well, I mean, so no, it's two things, right? So she gets a collar, which shows that she is a licensed dog.
right. Okay.
So, like in this community, you have to get a license. I mean, you have to do this in real life too. Like, you have to get a
Yeah.
license for your animals.
Right. And so this is like a big thing in the animal world. We meet a couple of her friends, which are just her next door neighbors. It's like a bloodhound and a little Scottish terrier who is Scottish, which is kind of charming and funny. And she is experiencing life a little differently because all of a sudden her owners are expecting a baby. She gets pregnant. She lacks the understanding of what's going on. She asks her friends. They don't really know what's going on. And it takes a wild stray dog who's running away from dog catchers that sneaks into her yard to kind of explain, oh, this is what's going on with they're going to forget about you because they're having a baby of their own. She doesn't really believe him, chases him off, he leaves. But then it kind of starts to happen. They neglect her a little bit more. She's kind of going through those growing pains of not being the center of their
They
universe.
smack her.
Yeah.
They
She
abuse
gets
her.
she gets
She
struck.
catches those hands.
She gets struck and called a bad dog.
And she's like, Will Smith just slapped the shit out of me.
the dad was just like, keep my baby's name
Out your mouth.
and so lady gets bitch slapped and
Which is appropriately enough true.
I'm glad you guys caught on to that one. And
Pretty sure that you have a rim shot in here.
I've got the failure one.
I also,
Hey.
on that note, so Tramp, and I know I'm cutting you off, Tramp kept calling Lady Pidge.
Yeah, I didn't get
It
that.
didn't sound like that multiple times. I had to put on the subtitles because it like jarred me for a second. I was like, what? And I had to put on the subtitles to confirm what was actually said.
I thought it made him sound cool. He's like, Pidge.
It was cool, but it just sounded like
I would never say it because it sounds degrading in some way. I don't know.
Yeah, well, it sounds also like
Couldn't say
a
that
certain
now.
word that was just thrown about.
yeah.
That would have been appropriate
which
for
is,
a female
I
dog.
know. I was
Yeah.
like, maybe that was like
just jumped up
okay
in
for the
maturity
time.
level.
Yeah, I don't know.
So she is experiencing this worse and worse, and then it kind of amplifies and comes to a peak when her owners take a trip. They take the baby with them, and
No, they don't.
In the original, they leave the baby there, and the aunt comes to watch the baby and Lady. She doesn't care for Lady at all, the dog. She just wants to be there with the baby, and she brings her little Siamese cats, which sing a very culturally insensitive
And
song.
we're gonna sing it for you guys right now.
And one, and two.
which is where these two Asian Siamese cats with harsh Asian accents sing about being
Go ahead, Greg. Take it away.
and they're also just evil. Like they want to
Yeah.
eat the fish, and they're tearing up the house, and they kind of peg it all on Lady, and the aunt is mortified, and so the aunt takes her to get a muzzle put on, and this is where she just kind of escapes. Like she runs away from the aunt. The same loose stray dog finds her again. This is the tramp. And he kind of saves her. He's showing her the ropes a little bit. He gets her muzzle taken off by a beaver, who's a very funny character who talks like this. And then she kind of has like the greatest night of her life. He's showing her where it's like, hey, you don't really need an owner. You can experience life in these pretty magical ways. You don't always need somebody feeding you. You can kind of get fed from a lot of different people. And they go and they have this kind of romantic dinner, you know, and it's these charming Italian chefs come out. And they make them spaghetti and they sing for them. It's really sweet. And then she is like, okay, well, I guess it's time to go back home. And she ends up getting snatched up by the
Dog catcher.
the dog catcher, whatever you want to call him.
Not the dog catcher. That's literally what he is.
So the dog
What do
catcher
you mean, whatever you want to call him.
gets taken.
The dog catcher. We'll call him Steve. It's not his name, but
Gets taken to the pound. She meets all these other dogs. They all talk about how the tramp is just kind of like
Is a hoe.
Like I mean,
His
it's
song's about how the
straight up
tramp's a
about
hoe.
how he just sleeps
Yeah.
around.
Yeah.
Like straight up, or it's like, yeah, he was with this girl and he was with that
Yeah,
girl.
he's a womanizer.
Yeah, and so Lady is
something's wrong with Liam's camera.
no. He switched to mine.
No. I mean, yeah, but
Or switch to main camera.
yeah.
Okay, I'll
I
try.
guess the fans aren't going to be able to see me.
Continue the synopsis.
Yeah,
Switch
yeah.
it to you, Nathaniel, and continue.
The
So,
other thing I want to point out real quick
or
is
let Liam do
the
it.
impounded dogs all have a very distinct ethnicity.
Okay.
The Chihuahua was, of course, the Taco Bell Chihuahua. The
There you
what
go.
was-
It's back on.
What was the big boy? The big boy philosopher.
Oh yeah,
was
he
a
was
Rush-
British.
He was a
Oh yeah,
Russian.
there's a big Russian dog.
Boris, the big dog, was a Russian philosopher.
I mean,
Well,
the
here-
thing is, it kind of makes sense
Yeah.
for them to give them all the dogs different
Yeah,
ethnicities.
it was funny. I
because they
actually
were
liked it.
basically like ethnicities based on what breed they were, and that kind of makes sense,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, well, here's the thing that I'll throw out there. Like, it's not culturally insensitive, right, to have like an Italian store owner have an Italian accent,
It's not
right?
the same thing.
This is-
No.
like because the live action comes on and it's two Italian guys with Italian accents and they sing the same song.
I mean, I
I'm
don't want to speak for Italians, but like, I don't
gonna
think
speak
that's
for
like,
Italians.
would you be
Yes.
offended by that?
I'm like,
if you're
how,
an Italian?
how else are you supposed to just to show anybody in anything? You're
Right.
like, oh my gosh, is this like a white dude talking in normal white person voice?
Yeah.
Like, how could you do that? This
You'd
is
a-
unfair.
if it was the opposite, you'd actually get complaints also.
Right.
If it was just like didn't talk in Italian, it's like, oh, you're kind of appropriating
course.
Italian culture, you know?
But the idea that the dogs each come from those backgrounds, I thought was fine. Like I didn't necessarily see a problem in like
No, me either.
the Chihuahua being.
And in fact, like in the live action,
Ne-
all the voices are way more bland. Just
Yeah,
like
well,
generic American accent.
I have something to say about that. We'll talk about that when we get to live action. But let me finish the. Okay, so she's in the pound. They all just talk about how much of a hoe the tramp is, and they sing this kind of funny song. Then she gets picked up after like a really brief dark moment where they're like, "Hey, that guy, he's getting killed."
Yeah, he's getting
And- yeah.
murdered.
And
Literally.
they walk the one dog to the room where like, yeah, nobody ever comes back from
Like
that.
the
And
death row room.
The
he gets-
one-way door,
one-way
they
he
door.
call
gets
it.
put to. I'm assuming he just gets
Gets
you
put
know,
down?
He gets put down,
Yeah.
and then they
Turns
let-
into Green Mile.
They never address. They never address that
for 10
again.
seconds.
Lady gets picked up because she has a collar. Gets back home and the tramp finds her again, and he's so happy she's out. But she's kind of like, "Dog, I heard you was a hoe, so get the hell out of here." And so he kind of pieces out, even though he's reluctant to. And then she sees this rat that she had chased off earlier in the movie. That's like sneaking its way into the baby's room. So she barks a whole bunch. Her owners are getting mad. She finally gets her way into the baby's room, but then they get her out of there and they kind of put her in the yard. So when the tramp comes back, she's like, "Hey, there's a rat in the baby's room. You need to save it." So he runs into the baby's room, like kind of sneaks in there. He has this big fight with a rat, knocks everything over. The owners come in. They obviously see a wild dog with the baby knocked, like with the cribs knocked over. Everything's destroyed. They have it, they have him picked up by the dog catcher. And all like the two friends of Lady are like, "Man, what a wild dog. Why would he go in and do that?" But then they find out that he's actually going for a rat. Even the owners, like actually no, they go and they save him first, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
So
No, so-
Lady and her two friends and two neighbors run after the carriage that's taking the tramp away. They derail it. It tips over. Old Faithful, which is the bloodhound, gets landed on.
Old Reliable. Trusty. His name's Trusty.
Trusty.
His nose is Old Reliable.
There you go. And he like breaks his arm. And then they run back into the house. And
I think your order is slightly out of order. So they get home, right? The tramp gets taken to the pound.
okay.
And he's being taken to the pound, and the owners walk in, and Aunt Sarah's like, "Oh, it was that that dog, and Lady was in on it too." And they're like, "Oh wait, Lady's trying to show us something." Shows them the rat, and that's when they go and save.
Okay. So I was thinking maybe after they got him, they came. Okay, so they show the humans the rat, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, like it wasn't that dog's fault." So she goes and saves the tramp with her 2 friends. They all come back, and then it's just kind of like there's no explanation. Like the family just accepts this dog now.
Well, they just adopt him.
Yeah, and they have a bunch of little kids that look either like Lady or like the tramp. No mixture whatsoever.
That's, by the way, there's two girls which look like exactly like Lady, and one boy that looks like Tramp.
Yeah.
His name is Scamp, and he's the the second
I
sequel,
knew it.
the straight to DVD sequel
I
is
knew
Scamp's
it.
Adventure.
I knew it. They can't help themselves.
the creativity of a mustard seed. So that's the original. That's the whole movie. There wasn't a whole lot going on. There's not really a protagonist. The whole movie. There's no real you
I
could
thought
say
the same thing.
the dog catcher, but he has like no lines in the original. He's just kind of like. Well, I mean, he does.
He's
but
more like a force of nature.
Yeah, exactly. He has lines, but he's just kind of like there.
There's there's character, like even Aunt Sarah, like they're characters that just exist to like put Lady and Tramp in like compromising situations, but they're not.
You say that, it sounds so dirty.
What compromising situations?
And Sarah's like hiding behind the door with like paparazzi with the picture, like, yeah, snuggle up onto him. Click, 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 click.
They're just
You'll never work in this
obstacles.
town again.
But it is interesting. I've never seen a Disney movie that didn't have like a true protagonist.
Yeah, there's
that was the
no-
first thing I noticed.
Well, I mean, Lady's the protagonist.
No.
Antagonist.
Antagonist.
I
You're
think-
right. You're
so
right.
I'm like, what are you
Antagonist.
talking about?
Antagonist.
Yeah. There's no like villain.
There's no
character.
villain.
No.
Like there's not a villain, and there's not a whole lot of music.
Bella Nota's good.
Bella Nota's is great.
Didn't your boy work on this one? Is this the one he worked
So
on?
he worked
Yeah.
on Jay worked on the live action. We were unable to get him in the studio tonight. His life group has switched over to Tuesdays.
Boo.
But yeah, that's the live action
Yeah.
one.
I mean,
so-
I thought Bella Nota. I think that's a good
Yeah, I mean,
one.
I thought the adaptation
Yeah.
of the music was fine.
Yeah.
Live
yeah,
action.
the adaptation, and we'll get. I'm
There
trying to
was one time
refrain from-
where the couple starts singing, and the girl was really auto-tuned.
Yeah,
in the live action.
Yeah, the
we'll
live
hold
action's a
off
little
on the live
weird.
action as long as we can. We're not gonna. We're gonna need to salvage as much as we can for the show.
Okay,
We
yeah,
gotta
well, see, so the
stretch
thing
this
is,
baby out.
I honestly like. Okay, well, finish your thoughts.
No, well, I mean that's the synopsis. As far as my thoughts on the movie, so I didn't. We all kind of expressed that we don't remember much other than the spaghetti scene, and then I think Liam hit it on the head. It's like when you're done watching, that's pretty much all you
Still,
remember
yeah.
about it too.
There's a rat running around, I guess.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of conflict. That it's more closely related to just like a rom-com
It was
for
so
little kids.
It was so like simplistic.
Yeah.
And I want to say I actually didn't mind the movie. I actually kind of
The
enjoyed
original?
it. Yes, I
The
actually kind of
original was
enjoyed
fine.
the original. It
Because-
was so simplistic. It almost felt like a short story or like a different form of like
It wasn't a full
media
movie.
than a full-length movie.
Yeah.
How simplistic it was compared to like the princesses that we've seen and the castles. It was just super like basic, which was fine for what its purpose was. I actually enjoyed it.
And then the stakes of the movie were very low.
Yeah,
It was like, I was kind of expecting him to be like when they gestured that the one dog was getting taken and put down, and I'm like, oh, Tramp's gonna get put down, and there's gonna be this really chaotic scene, and there's a moment where he has to sacrifice himself or something. There really wasn't anything.
No.
Like they saved the baby from a rat. Was the rat gonna kill the baby?
Give it like the Black Death or something.
I don't know. Like maybe that was at the time. I mean, when did this come out?
The 50.
So
I
was
think it
that
too
was that
late
relevant?
now.
I don't
No,
know.
I think that was like 40 years earlier.
It was just a
Chat,
rat.
let us know. Are there any like folk tales of rats stealing babies?
Yeah,
It
because
could be.
Is
It
it
could be that,
taking it?
it's possible that that's like a folktale, or they were just like, oh shoot, we forgot a villain. The rat's gonna try to kill the
Rat.
baby because the rat's like poised over the crib and looks like super evil.
The rat
with
looks
like an
evil,
outstretched
yeah.
paw. It looks
And
like it's about to attack the baby.
And it's
so.
obviously not something you want to buy a baby, but it by no means, at least to my knowledge, represents death.
Death.
It's like probably just as worrisome as a wild dog, maybe less so
Yeah.
than like the stray dog that's running around your baby's room.
Black Death was in like the 1500s. I don't think that.
Yeah, I don't know if there's like a scare in the 50s. They're like, hey, remember that thing?
Uh-oh.
Let's make a movie about it. But
Maybe the 1500s.
I mean, there were a few kind of charming characters. I thought the little Scottish Terrier
Yeah.
was kind of ironic and funny. Maybe for the first few times you saw him, but then after that, I could care less. Trusty is kind of he's got a cute voice, and he's oh, have I ever told you? And he's just kind of a funny little guy.
I thought it was humorous.
Yeah, I mean,
More so than ones we've recently watched.
really.
Yeah. Yeah.
What were the main points of comedy? I don't even remember.
I mean, I think just some of the dialogue they had. I think the beaver scene was funny.
Yes.
I think
That is a good
the
call.
Trusty and Jock relationship was like got a chuckle out of me sometimes.
Yeah.
I was more so comparing it to recent movies we've watched. I really didn't see any humor in the
like
other ones.
Dumbo and Pinocchio.
You guys, yeah, you
Well,
guys may have,
Cinderella. He didn't think Cinderella had any kind of. I guess the mice were a little. I will say this one. The whole story, not just like I wouldn't say like the specific like the artistic style or the humor. The whole story just felt like it was for a younger audience, like just because it was so simple. Because I couldn't sit there and go, oh my gosh, like this is really well thought through. There's this deep message here.
Yep.
I'm not even really sure. Like I know I'm the guy that's usually like, let me talk about like the imagery and the mess. I don't know if there's really anything here. Like I've given it a lot of thought and I've watched through it, and I try not to just like look up somebody that makes up a story for it and then regurgitate it to you guys. Like I want to watch it and try to derive that for myself. And I didn't get a whole lot. I mean, honestly, any message at all, really. What, like, I'll ask you, what was the central theme? What were the major themes of the book?
What? Hey, that's my line.
What was the theme of the movie, of the original movie?
love.
Love of, but really? Was that it? I don't think that was it.
I think that's as deep as it goes, though.
But because she wanted to be with him, he wanted to be with her, obviously. That's fine.
Yeah.
There was a little bit of conflict in that because she thought that he was a tramp, which he
Right.
was.
Looking past the past lovers.
see,
of
I mean,
a-
I can give you something if you want. I mean, it's pretty simple, right? It's pretty surface too. Lady needs to learn to not be the center of the universe, and to like expand her world. And Tramp needs to learn that this unfettered freedom is not actually as freeing as he thinks it is. It leads to loneliness. So Tramp needs to bring it in, and Lady needs to expand out.
Okay.
And so they help each other, and that's why the change to the. Because I mean, let's be honest, live action was pretty much shot for shot.
yeah.
But then they made that one major change, which I think really affects kind of the only thing you can get out of Lady's story, which is she's worried because Tramp is like, oh yeah, baby moves in, dog moves out, and so Lady's worried about that, and then it gets to this point where they hit her and all these things, and so she's actually freaking out about it. But then at some point they bring her up to see the baby, and as soon as she sees the baby, and she's like, oh, look at this little human. I need to take care of him. And so she realizes that she needed to make room for more family. Because when they go through the Siamese cats show up, and Lady and the Tramp is like, I'll not tolerate racism in my household, and leaves. But so she goes through a whole adventure. They go on their date. They eat the spaghetti, right? She gets sent to the pound. They get rescued, and then they're up on the hill looking out over the city, and Tramp is like, and she's like, I've had a wonderful time. I experienced the things I never experienced before. You've shown me, all the stuff outside of my bubble that I never would have known. And he's like, well, come with me. We can go on all sorts of adventures. We don't need to be loyal to anyone. We don't need to be tied down by anything.
Right.
And she says, who's going to take care of the baby? Because she's expanded her universe. Now instead of just being the dependent, she's like, oh, now I have responsibility.
Right.
And so she goes back home, and then the whole rat thing happens. So she does have, it's,
Right.
you know, it's not huge,
No,
but she does have both of them have character growth, and Tramp realizes that, hey, and this one they actually talked about it more. They kind of leaned on it more in the original leans more on Lady's story, and the live
Right.
action leans more on Tramp's story.
Right, and all of our examples of originals and remakes go from one central character, because that's how those movies were made. They're like, this is the character that's going to have development. Everybody else exists to push along the story, and in the remakes, they're like, let's develop every character.
Yeah. Well, in the original, the adults were basically faceless human beings.
Yeah.
Did they
You
even
see their-
show their face?
Yeah, you see his face on occasion. Yeah.
Most of the time, it's just cut off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like Charlie Brown.
Because it's
Like,
meant to,
just, like,
because
not
the
even
intention
like
of the story is that it's told from the dog's perspective.
yeah,
So it's like
yeah,
they're
that makes
not
sense.
looking at the faces.
It makes sense, and obviously that's different in the live action.
Yeah, and I will agree. The live action gave a little bit more light to. She actually even said he actually said the line, "You're not the center of the universe anymore." Whereas in the original, you're just kind of implying that. Like those things that you pointed out, I think you can kind of take that away from it, but they're not really touched on again after the initial. Like after Lady goes through her initial kind of like realization that she's not going to be loved as much as this baby. There isn't like this coming to knowledge moment. There isn't a moment where one of her friends or Tramp sits there and it's like, hey, it's okay.
No,
like they still love you. It's just going
Yeah.
to be different. We're going to, and like there wasn't any kind of exposition on that. It just kind of like the
Well,
story just kind of moved along.
The coming of knowledge moment for her is when she meets the baby. That's when it happens. You see this change, and they animated
the
it pretty well.
original?
Yeah, in the original. That's the turning point for her.
Right.
Is that turns it from fear to love is when she meets the baby and she understands here's the person who's going to be sharing in the love from Jim and Darling.
Right.
And she accepts that,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's
Yeah.
it's a kids movie. It's done very simplistically, but it's there.
No, that's true. And that's good. That's something I probably just didn't, I didn't catch that.
because you don't have any love in your heart. It's okay.
I hate kids.
yeah, you hate kids, you hate dogs too.
But why do they have
Women, right? What all
women?
the-
Yeah, you hate dog. It
Pretty
was
much the whole
about a
movie.
female dog and a kid, and Greg was like, "This is checking all the boxes for me of things I
Greg
hate."
is
Like,
not
just
gonna like
ridiculous.
this.
Like,
I think you made a good point about the rom com though. The more I'm thinking about that, that's
Yeah.
just
Yeah,
feels
it's
like
very
city
rom-com.
girl, country
Yeah.
boy,
Yeah.
opposites attract, rom com.
And Disney has done this a few. So
well, keep in mind this is early.
yeah. So Aristocats. I don't know if you guys have seen that. In my opinion, it's a much better version of this. Like you guys could watch that, and it's hysterical. The music is banging, and the story itself like has more. Like it, and again, it's more about his development. The kind of O'Malley is like his name is like he's an alley cat. His name is O'Malley, and like it's like his whole development into being civilized because he's like always kind of on the run. But anyways, this one I felt like had an opportunity to do something like that, but in reality, it was more about her development. And her development just it didn't have a whole lot of depth.
Yeah.
It was like, hey, you're going from being their favorite little dog to now they have a baby, and you're kind of still their dog. And it's like, okay, and she has to learn that. And it's like, it's not a super deep message or anything like that. And it's more about, like you said, it's more about her just liking this
Yeah,
boy.
and Lady and the Tramp was
understanding how-
1955.
Yeah.
Aristocats was 1970. So 15 years of development of
I
their product. Again, it feels kind of like Pinocchio and Dumbo, where it was like, here is a short cartoon that they kind of stretched out into a feature-length thing.
yeah.
But it's not so long that it was offensive, right? It was
Definitely
very
not the
like
original.
It was
It's
fun
fun.
to watch,
Yeah, the original.
but
was fun.
it doesn't leave any lasting impression. So it's like almost the very definition of a mid movie.
Right.
It's good, but not great. There's nothing wrong with it, but it just doesn't stick with you. It's cute, it's charming, but then as soon as you watched it, you move on. It's like it's a literal popcorn movie. It's a movie made of popcorn. You eat it and then you move on. And it
It's
leaves no impression.
probably of the ones we've watched the least like applicable to adults. I feel like.
I agree.
Yeah, there's definitely not a very deep message at all.
Yeah.
And when a message doesn't have depth, you typically accredit it to being, for a younger
Yeah.
audience. And yeah, there's not really iconic songs. I guess you could say Bella Notte is my Bella Notte.
Bella Notte.
Bella Notte. You could say that that's pretty iconic, but
But that's
But
that's the scene that's
yeah,
iconic. It's literally just
it's
that
almost
scene.
just a picture that's iconic. It's like
Yeah.
it's you'd swear like, oh yeah, there's that. I wonder what it's like to watch that scene, and you watch it and you're like, oh,
It was a scene.
Yeah, like they're not talking. He rolls the meatball over.
Yeah.
They eat the spaghetti. They kiss. They pull
It's
away.
like it almost could be that's it. They just do a short
Yes.
just that scene.
That's what I was
and
saying.
That would have
It's
been
like it
sufficient.
almost like had a short vibe to it.
Yeah.
I mean, is this the least like canonized Disney movie like ever? No one talks about it. I actually read online Disney World. Okay, so the world of Disney.
The world of Disney.
There is fact check maybe in the chat. One reference in Disney World to Lady and the Tramp,
Is it
and
the
it's like a
spaghetti?
restaurant. Yes, it's a restaurant in Epcot.
Well, what?
That's
But the thing is, like, what else would you reference? There's nothing.
Exactly.
There's nothing in that movie other than dogs. It's again,
Exactly.
it's just dog. It's a movie about dogs.
Just
Like it's
interesting.
simple. It's charming. It does what it needs to do, but it doesn't stick in your mind. And it's not the sort of thing. Like, yeah, I'd let my kids watch it.
Yeah,
If they wanted to watch it again, I'd let them watch it. But I'd be like, hey, here's this other dog movie. It's called 101 Dalmatians, and it's better.
I was just
So-
about to say there are easily better dog movies
by
in that, like,
Disney. But again,
101 Dalmatians. But why? Like, who's the most iconic character in 101 Dalmatians?
DeVille.
Cruella DeVille.
Cruella
It's your main event. And what's the main song? Cruella DeVille. Whatever. So you have an iconic song. You have an iconic villain. And there you go. You can build a movie
it
around that.
lasts. It like lasts a little bit longer too.
Right. And in this one, it's like, it's not really an iconic song that you're going to sing along to.
No.
You could hear Bella Notte and enjoy it.
But that's how a lot
you're
of the
not-
older Disney ones were
I
song
like.
wise.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I like the Star Sweeper song.
Oh,
That was
they
good,
were
and
fine.
the other movies, they're like nice. They're like
yeah.
nice, very
Oh,
50s
yeah.
vibe songs. But like, yeah, again, they don't. Nothing really sticks with you.
But they weren't like sing along Disney
Yeah,
songs.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
there weren't going to be anyone's like. I would even argue like the stuff that you got out of Peter Pan and Pinocchio is a little more iconic. That you're like, oh, I've got no strings to hold. Like that at the very least you can say that's a Disney
I
song.
will say I would rather watch this than Pinocchio again. And
the
or
original
Dumbo.
of Pinocchio.
The original. Yeah. I don't know. I didn't really like Pinocchio. I didn't really like Dumbo. This one was fine. Like if I had to pick between them.
This felt more like Dumbo, where it was almost like a long short story.
Yeah, but I
Dumbo had a lot more
didn't
depth.
really like Pinocchio, so I think I'd rather
I'd
watch
put
this
it in
again.
the middle of those three.
Yeah, I mean Pinocchio, Peter Pan, Dumbo, and this kind of all reside in this kind of.
I think Peter Pan goes up just because of Shmi.
Yeah, Peter Pan
honest.
was hysterical with. Peter Pan's humor was definitely tops amongst those. Yeah, I probably wouldn't include it in those bottom three.
I feel like all of those are similar music wise. Like there's not like
Yeah.
they're distinctly different from like the Little Mermaids.
Yeah, but keep
Of
in
the
mind,
world
keep in
as
mind
far
that's
as
like an
music is
era.
concerned.
That was
Yeah.
like a specific
Sure,
Disney era that
sure.
started with Little Mermaid, where they were like, "Hey, this is kind of our formula."
We're gonna
Yeah.
have like
and
five
there,
songs.
and
Yes.
there are other ones like Snow White and Sword in the Stone, where there are musical pieces, but and they do relate to what's happening in the plot. But I think it was Little Mermaid was like the first one where it's really like the music drives the story.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's funny that you mentioned that because you think about it. Snow White, which is the first one ever
Yeah.
made, that one's got like 3 or 4 songs now. It's got
We're off.
Whistle While You Work.
Whistle While You Work.
It's got Hi Ho.
Someday,
Yeah.
my prince,
Yeah.
someday my prince will come.
Yeah, Someday My Prince Will Come. And then it's got the one where they're all yodeling. I love that song.
Does that not have a live action? Oh, well, it's coming out.
Oh yeah.
Oh goodness
We
gracious.
already talked about
Can we please not?
Can we talk about the Daily Wire's version of that? Have you seen
I
that?
have. Brett Cooper.
sorry.
Brett Cooper's. I mean,
love
it,
Brett
honest,
Cooper.
it honestly
Brett
looks.
Cooper, and it's not a dude. Like who names their daughter?
Dude, Brett's a cool name.
a cool name,
I'm
but
gonna name
it's
my
not a
daughter
girl.
Brett.
Okay.
I'm gonna name my daughter Brett.
I also saw
You're
the
not allowed
trailer
to
and I
see her.
thought it was a joke.
Me too.
I'm like, there's no way they're actually doing
I
this.
thought it was a bit.
Because I mean, that's the
It
equivalent
definitely
of
looks like a
having
bit.
like Ben Shapiro be Prince.
That would be so
She's like a
funny.
very prominent conservative YouTuber, and she's gonna play. So I don't know. That's like a little like even from a more conservative guy. I was like,
It definitely feels like a.
but I
bit
think
of a
they're
troll.
kind of just doing. Yeah, they're trying to just do it. I think just to punch the other side.
They're
in the
trying to
face.
give an alternative to woke.
Right, which is
what they're
fine.
trying
I
to
mean,
do.
we'll see
Fine,
how
it's
they
good. Yeah,
that'll
I mean,
be an really interesting thing when they both come out. We can watch them and talk
Yeah.
about it. I think
We'll
that'll be
watch
really,
your career with great interest.
Is it a full length? The Daily Wire one? Like it's like a full length.
I couldn't
movie?
tell you, man.
All right, so let's transition to the live action Lady and the
Hooray.
Tramp. So pretty much the same.
It's almost exactly.
So,
a shot
so
for
you get a
shot.
lot more interaction with the humans. The aunt has a little more agency. I'm trying to think of the main differences.
Okay,
There-
the main
Yeah,
difference.
there's
There's like two main
there's-
differences.
yeah. So
The first one is that when Jim and Darling go on their trip, they take the baby with them. So Aunt what's her butt, Sarah
Sarah.
is just there to dog sit, which completely changes it completely changes the one thing that was Lady's motivation, like changed her, was meeting the baby. So she doesn't meet the baby before she goes to the pound and all that stuff. She meets her after.
Yeah.
And so in the live action one, she's just like, oh, you know what? I just gotta love my family. It was weird because it was like her whole point was, oh, I need to stay and take care of the baby. I have responsibility now. Even though I'm feeling called to this life of adventure with Tramp that I really think I'll enjoy. I have responsibility now. So again, it was like the one I was like, man, you ruined the one single thing that was actually in the original that I could pick up on.
And I mean, other than that, they have a small change that when Lady got captured, she was coming back to save Tramp.
Yeah.
And she got captured that way, and he didn't save her. Or they made it seem like that. But in reality, he kind of just ran off and was expecting her to be behind him, and then was like, oh, shoot, where are you? And she was captured.
Yeah.
And then they kind of just made him feel like, oh, you ran away from her, didn't you? And he's like, well, I just kind of expected that she'd be there.
So in the original, she gets mad at him because she's like, "You a hoe sleeping around."
Right.
I thought I was special, but you're just a ladies' man, right? Whereas in this one, is like, oh no, he's a con man. He just used you to get what he wanted, like friendship wise, and that's why she's mad at him. She's like, oh, you don't actually care about me. You were just using me to, I get the free food from the Italian restaurant or whatever.
Yeah.
So it kind of changes his motivations. And they keep harping on his free to be me and free to be myself and free to be by myself.
There you go.
And all his friends are like, that means you're gonna be lonely. Like they really like nail you with it. It's like, okay, yeah, it was obvious from the subtext.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And other than that, you have all the same iconic moments.
Yep.
The cats come up. They obviously don't sing the Siamese song. They just seem
Question was that song worse?
Oh, the song was
good.
far worse.
The song was
good.
worse.
It was certainly not racist, but it wasn't worse.
If you closed your eyes and We Are Siamese came on the radio, you'd at least think like this is kind of like funny and silly. Like it's the optics of seeing like two Asian-looking cats dance around a room that you're like, maybe that's a little racist. Whereas this time, it's just two cats singing a song that is like, I
don't even remember it.
I have no idea.
It was literally about them redecorating. It was like, and if you don't like it, well, F you, we're just going to disappear. And it was terrible.
And so they trash everything. Anyways, the story progresses in the same exact way. The major plot points that Nathanael talked about are the only big changes, and they're big, but the story was simple enough that it didn't really ruin much of anything.
Yeah, it doesn't change any of the outcomes.
The bigger problem in the movie is that
Jacques. They gender swap Jacques.
Well, they also gender swap Jacques, and they also, I felt like didn't they gender swap another person?
I don't know.
I think they very clearly tried to make a villain more apparent.
Oh yeah, they tried to make the dog catcher more of a villain, or more of a character, I guess. But I was like, I felt bad for the guy.
Yeah, so
just try to do his job.
And he's working late hours. He's out late, and they're like
dedicated to Snob Hill.
Greg, I hit a button. Oh no, we're fine.
Man's dedicated to Snob Hill. Can't hate him for that.
Yeah. So, so the dog catcher has a little bit more. Like he's constantly in every scene, but they just kind of lean into the silliness of the fact that there is a dog catcher. They very much lean into that. They're like, hey, we're just gonna make him constantly be like, he's mangy. I've got to catch him. And like he's very dangerous, and mangy, and he's dirty. And he's mangy, and he's a dog, and we gotta. And like everybody, even at times, they are like, "Aren't you afraid of other rodents or anything?" And he's like, "Rodents?" He's like, "No."
But the thing is, that's like he's not an exterminator. He is a dog catcher. He is paid by the city to catch dogs.
Right.
Like he's just doing his job.
Yeah.
So it's like to paint him as a villain is like,
and it's the 50. Like he's just a normal guy that's like on the lookout. Even in the original. From what I can remember, he wasn't like sadistically trying to...
because they find Lady when they pick up Lady in the original. So that was one other change is that Lady loses her collar. They take Lady's collar off, and so she gets picked up to the pound. But then they find her anyways. So it's like it doesn't even matter. But in the original, they take her to the pound, and then they're like, while they're taking her to the pound, they're like, well, we'll find you. You've got a collar. We'll find your owners. So the dog catchers are in the original were never portrayed as they were just doing their job. They're never portrayed as like sadistic, other than they put down a dog, which is a little like, eh. And they did the same thing. They're like, the one-way door. I was like, okay, you're gonna keep the dog murder in there, but okay.
They did take out.
PETA approved of this movie.
They took out the beaver. I thought
they did. They took out the whole zoo scene.
I thought that was a little
Yeah, how do
whack.
you take out an entire scene and then it's still longer? Because everything, they just took every single beat and just stretched it out.
Yeah.
And they gave Tramp a
They gave Tramp a
backstory. They gave him a
backstory.
tragic backstory where he
He's
was
like,
abandoned
I was
by
a-
his owner, and that's why he distrusts humans, which like was totally unnecessary. It was
Classic
totally
live
unnecessary.
Honestly,
action.
just
It was.
took-
I mean,
took
it's
like
implied by
2 minutes to tell.
Tramp. It's implied by Tramp during the original that he has experience with humans. That's why he knows these things.
Right.
Otherwise, he would know this. And you don't. It doesn't matter. You don't need to hear the backstory.
That's
It's,
like most
totally
of the
unnecessary.
fluff in these live action is just adding a backstory
To everyone.
to everyone
So-
and to everything.
So when I watched the live action, I think the main like it felt like, you guys ever watch that movie Dogs versus Cats?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It just it felt
Yep,
like the CGI at times was awful.
Oh my gosh! For the little dogs, it was
But
atrocious.
there were several points where it was like dog with another dog and a steady background, and you're like, okay, these for the most part just look like dogs, but their mouths would be like, like it's just like a dog sitting there, and the mouth is just like opening and closing, and words are coming out. And this is what I'm going to say about the voice acting. I think I finally got it. Okay, so all these live action remakes, they get well-known actors to go and be voice actors. But those aren't voice actors.
I didn't, and
I
I
also
didn't. I
don't
also
think-
I couldn't tell you who was voicing
Well,
who, except for
I don't think they're
Sam
super well
Elliott.
known in this one, except for Sam Elliott.
Sure. And well, Sam Elliott's phenomenal. Why?
He's great.
Because
Okay,
he gets,
in this
he
one,
gets asked
he
to
was
do.
clearly just lying on a couch going,
Great. I mean, great
amazing.
casting though.
His-
Great casting
his-
choice.
His voice is
Sam
incredible.
Elliott.
But my main point behind this, and this is more so for all the live action remakes, is that you get these Disney originals where you had talented voice actors who come in to a studio like this with charisma, read through their lines, and it is a talent to be a that scale voice actor where you're putting that much emotion into a character that you're not really being. It's just an animated character later, where they get a well-known actor to come in, like think about all the people in Lion King,
yeah.
to come and be these main characters, and like, oh, the name will carry it along, and they're just going to be reading the lines, but they don't know how to be a voice actor. And I got that. I don't know who was playing Lady, but I got that the whole time, where I'm just like,
yeah, she was so flat the
this
whole
person
time.
is just reading lines, and it's probably not even that's probably some decently well-known actor, and they nailed her down so that,
Yeah, Tessa Thompson.
okay,
What?
You know
Wait,
that
did
is-
she
Yes.
do Lady?
Tessa Thompson was Lady. Yeah.
well, there you go. I mean, that's your problem.
Justin Theroux was Tramp. Which
Don't know who that is. Don't care.
You would recognize his face.
But
Maybe,
the
I
thing
don't
is,
care.
even if somebody sounds the part, like even if somebody just sounds like so you get Donald Glover to be Simba, and you're like, okay, maybe his voice sounds like somebody that could be Simba, but he's not in any way a payable voice actor.
you need to reflect emotion. You can't just be a known
He is a real
voice.
life actor.
Yeah.
And it's like this is why like Robin Williams was kind of an anomaly, that he could go and do such a good job as Genie. He's one of the few. He's so charismatic in his movies that it's like you could go and be a cartoon actor because you're that charismatic. You could bring that into.
You know
that.
what I actually think part of it is that nowadays we're so beyond radio, like radio being a thing.
Right.
Whereas like back
Yeah.
in the day, actors would do part-time stuff for radio, and it's like it's only your voice. You got to learn how to emote, and also they would be brought up in theater where a lot of it is vocal inflections and things like that. So I think more modern actors are not trained similar, or have similar experiences, and that's a big part of what they're lacking. Is people can tell them like, oh, show some facial expressions, like, okay, yeah, but you can't hear that when it's being voice acted. They just like the flattest, most
Yeah.
monotonous voice, like
That
they're
is
just cashing a check. It's
that
like,
is
so
the
embarrassing.
biggest difference between all of these movies, and you saw it in this one big time, was just that these voice actors that go and do these originals, like Nathanael said, like that was just a bigger thing at the time. Like we did more radio stuff, like animated cartoon movies were getting pretty big and popular, and so you would get a well-known, well-respected radio voice or voice actor to come in to play this role, and they knew exactly what it meant to have to show your emotions through how you sounded. And the animations could be over the top. And so the mixtures of now these animations not being able to accomplish that because they're trying to look like real dogs, even though they're still animations.
Should have homeward bounded it.
And then also adding the fact that you just get well-known actors to come in and play the roles, and you're like, oh, that's Tessa Thompson. Oh my gosh, she's gonna be Lady. Tessa Thompson has no idea how to voice act.
Yeah.
She's probably a great
I mean,
actress. I don't really,
Arguable.
Probably.
She's Valkyrie in the Marvel movies.
Yeah, I know.
Arguable.
I was trying to be nice. She's a professional actor. We'll say that.
Yeah.
She's not a professional
paid
voice
to be a
actor.
professional actor.
There you go.
I just don't think they care. Like,
Right, so-
they're going to put the
so
name on it. And it's going to get people to the theater
Yeah.
just because they see the name, and I don't think they care.
Would be curious though. Like, was anybody hopping at the chance
This
to
didn't
go
come
see
out in
live
theaters. This
action?
came out D+.
Okay, yeah, it
yeah,
seems
that makes sense.
like
That makes sense.
this is the most woof out of all the movies. Not saying that ironically. Just want to say woof.
Hang on.
Woof.
Go ahead, hit us with it. Yep.
Because it was just a resounding nothing. I mean, the most offensive part of it was the extended length.
Yep.
In the other than that, it would have just been very mid. A mid movie turned into a very difficult watch.
Yep.
I will say.
It was painful. We were
painful.
ready for it to end.
We're all agreeing on that.
Shavely says it would have been cool if they had tied the rat and the pound together somehow, like have Lady recognize the rats.
Yeah. Well, and
There's
that's
a
what
lot of things they could have done, but they just they made the safest possible movie, and by default made the most boring possible movie.
Well, and that's what we've kind of been saying, that if they gave more agency to a villain of any kind, you
Or
would
even just like not necessarily a villain, just have something higher stakes happen. Right. Like it doesn't necessarily have to be like a personal villain, right? You can have them be in a more precarious situation just out of virtue of like maybe Tramps gonna be put down, or Lady's gonna be put down, or something where there's a ticking clock element, or something that's gonna there's danger and excitement, or anything. It doesn't necessarily have to have a personal villain, but it's like something needed to happen, or they needed more rom-com stuff, but they didn't do either one.
Well, it kind of felt like Toy Story if the main arc of the movie was just Woody and Buzz having a little bit of a feud because Woody feels like he might not be the center of Andy's attention.
Yeah.
And then he kind of becomes okay with that when he gets to know Buzz. But the thing is, they added to that story the fact that they get lost, they get captured by Sid, they're about to die, and they have to get out of the situation.
Excuse me. They're not about to die. They're about to be mangled horribly.
Yes.
There's a difference.
Well, they're about to be blown up and dismembered. But that's my whole point. Still the same message. At the end of the story, Woody understands that he's like, hey, it's not about me being Andy's favorite. I've actually come to love Buzz, and now we're all this big family. Lady kind of has a similar experience in the fact that she's like, hey, I'm no longer the center of attention. It's weird because then it's like her relationship with Tramp exists so far out in the ether away from her development.
Again, Tramp is the allure to her to go out, like to break free of being a person, like a person's
But she
dog.
still is a person's dog at the
Right,
end,
right,
no?
right. But that's because she says, "Oh, as much as I'd love to go and live free with you,
Right.
I have responsibilities with this family."
Well,
that I'm a part of."
I guess my question is, what about her experience with him developed her as a character? Because I think that she went from getting worried that she wasn't going to be the center of attention, meeting the baby, and realizing, okay, this is okay. There's some compromise, but I feel like I have responsibility for the baby.
So you're saying without him, does her arc change?
Nothing changes
at all.
But you add him, and then there's a love interest.
Right.
But the love interest had nothing to do with the character arc.
That's a great point.
And so it was
I
so
agree.
strange.
Well, it was
I agree.
again, it's minor, but it is like a source of temptation. Like, hey, she's experiencing this completely new world that she didn't understand before, right? And because like initially when she meets her, she just assumes like he's just some tramp.
Yeah.
Right. And then it's like, oh, here's something else that I could have that I think might be worth pursuing. But she ultimately decides that her current family, is more worthwhile.
Okay, so it does give her like an option. Like,
exactly.
Otherwise, she would have had no option.
That's the turning point for her in terms of the baby. There's like two parts: is how she feels about the baby and how she feels about Tramp. The
Yeah.
turning point for the baby is when she actually meets the baby and understands, I may no longer be the center of the universe, but I'm okay with this. And then when she meets Tramp and has this wonderful time with Tramp, and he takes her to the top of the hill and says, "Now, I will give you the kingdom of the world if you will just bow down and worship me." Maybe that's a different movie.
The Bible.
Yeah, the Bible.
You're mixing this
movie.
up with John.
but he takes her up there and says, "Look at this wide world we can go explore, like beyond the bounds of the city."
Yeah, be
And
a wild dog.
we can be free. We're not tied. We just have each other, and she's tempted by that because her question is, "But then who will take care of the baby?" So she's not saying, "I don't want that." She's saying, "I do kind of want that, but I recognize this other responsibility that I have, and I choose that over this wild freedom. And Tramp also realizes that's kind of a turning point for Tramp too. He's like, oh, maybe there's something to the city life that I'm missing.
Well, I think that in his story is much more akin to like the time. It's a very like that time period. It was a super common story to have like a guy who's a little bit wild and he's a little bit of a ladies' man, and then a girl comes along that changes him, and then he's like, "Hey, I'm going to settle down because I like this girl." So it's fairly simple. They sing a song about it. They're like, "Hey, he's a tramp."
I don't think there's much to dig deeper than that.
Yeah.
But I think it
really
is
not
there.
anything
It is
there.
there, but it's not like a nothing movie. But it's like that's it, and it's nice.
Yeah, and so there wasn't a whole lot added, and the live action was poorly done. I think the animation was bad. The voice acting was bad, but
I thought the humor was worse.
yeah.
I thought
Give me your
the
overall
humor.
thoughts.
I
if you
thought the
watched it.
humor was cringy in the live action. I think felt like they were trying way too hard to be funny.
Yeah.
You remember Ken Jeong's scene?
Oh my
That
gosh,
scene
right.
sucked. That scene sucked.
That's
that guy
right.
makes me
Hey.
mad. That guy makes me
Cash
mad.
that check, Ken.
That's
That guy
exactly what
makes me
Nathanael
mad.
said.
That is the epitome of the humor. It was just like awkward, like trying too hard to be like an uncomfortable scene. There was a scene with the dad and the dog catcher that was like really weird and just trying too hard to be funny.
Yes.
And like that kind of, because I like the humor. Like I said, I like the humor in the original one, and I think this did a way worse job in the humor.
Yeah.
Amongst the other things, it did a worse job at.
It felt like one of those movies that you have a kid, like you have like a 1-year-old and they're just misbehaving. So you just put a movie on an iPad and put it in front of them, and the kid just like starts to drool and just watch. Like it's a mindless movie you'd put in front of a child, and then the child would be like, "Oh look, it's like a puppy running around," and like they don't understand that it's
just a
terribly
puppy.
CGI puppy.
Yeah.
Like, they don't know that it's terrible.
And then when the
They
baby
love
starts
dogs.
crying, you're like, what happened? Oh, it's the terrible CGI puppies again.
And the baby's crying. It's because Uncle Greg told me that this is a terrible CGI puppy, and I'm like, "You're welcome. Don't watch this
It's
trash."
Teach him young.
slap the iPad out of his hand, like, this is garbage.
Yeah,
Do better.
It did just like you pointing out the scene with Kim Jong and to the rest of the humor. Yeah, it seemed kind of aimless. It was like, who's your audience here?
Well, it's
Like,
funny too because like the credits are rolling over this happens a lot in these movies where you have the big name actors doing the voice acting, and it's rolling the credits, and it's like it's got Ken Jeong, it's got Tessa Thompson, it's got Janelle Monáe, and you're like, okay, can I figure out who's playing who? And then the Ken Jeong thing happened. I was like, well, I guess that's it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Pretty
cash that check,
straightforward.
baby. Cha-ching.
There was like no physical comedy either, no slapstick
No.
from what I can remember,
No.
and that's the easiest thing with kids,
Right.
And that's still charming to me now. Like when I watched Peter Pan, there's one of the few redeeming things about the original Peter Pan, although I liked it and you guys didn't, is Captain Hook and Shmi's physical comedy is hysterical.
Yeah,
He's like
I was
skipping along
laughing.
the water. Yeah, it made me laugh out loud. Like
Yeah.
just seeing it is a spectacle. Kids would eat that stuff up, even if it's a crappy live action, whatever. Have some people fall into mud. Have some like at that point, I would at least be like, "Hey, you did some service to the kids that are watching this." But it's like they don't even know what humor is. They make a few self-aware humor jokes where it's talking.
Which kids aren't gonna get.
They're not picking up on situational
Yeah,
humor like it's Seinfeld. Like it's slapstick, and it's like, yeah, the beaver is like funny. Like
Yes,
that'd be funny for a kid in
Beaver's
the
a
original. But the
hilarious
live
character.
action, it's like awkward. I was like,
Right.
a kid does
And-
not
and-
have any
and
clue
it's-
that's funny.
It's like, which they had to keep doing this with the dog catcher. It's like, yeah, keep making him super intentional about being like,
Yeah.
I'm a dog catcher, and then everybody else is gonna be like, what are you doing, dude? It's like, no, kids don't care. Like he's the bad guy. He's the dog catcher. Like have him go
Right.
around wanting to catch
It's
the
really
dog.
strange.
You know what they need to
'cause
bring back? The kid catcher from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Never seen it.
That
Never
That
seen
was
the movie.
creepy stuff, dude.
I'm putting that on the list. He's never seen
Chitty
Chitty Chitty
Bang
Bang
Bang's
Bang.
actually
It's
really
excellent.
solid.
It's excellent. I'm
Wait,
putting it
I
on the list.
actually is that where they're flying in a car?
Yes.
It's a
Okay.
flying car.
Wow, it's been a while. I have seen that when
It's
I
an
was
excellent
super
movie.
young,
It's
when I
very,
like
very good.
VCR. I can
Yes.
picture a VCR
Yes.
video. of
Some
Chitty
really bad green screen. Maybe some of the first green screen
Yeah, some of
ever.
the most atrocious green screen ever, but it's really good movie. It's really fun.
The music,
put it on
the
the list.
music numbers are really good. Like I mean,
Yeah.
I could sing those songs a lot. The kids are a little cringy. I just remember watching them and being like, they're acting.
It's
just like-
funny. I think they might be the exact same kids from Mary Poppins, or they look the same to me. And it's funny because it's Dick Van Dyke's in it too. So
Yeah, I
it's
like
almost like a Mary Poppins reunion.
the main dude. That's,
The villains, the bad guys, the spy bad guys are hysterical. That's a movie that has some good physical comedy.
yeah, I mean, it's just a great movie. Period.
Isn't there another movie similarly titled?
Chitty Bang Bang.
Yeah,
Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
that's it. That's it.
Is that a movie?
Yes, but it's not even
That's it.
close. That's not related at
That's
all.
the one.
Is that the one you watched? I don't think it has a flying
No,
car.
no,
in
no.
it.
Chitty Bang Bang is the one I watch, but Kiss Kiss Bang Bang is something I'm aware of too.
What is Kiss Kiss Bang Bang?
No idea.
It's an movie.
It's one of the movies
One
of
of
all
the
time.
movies of all
So, anybody more thoughts about the?
Can I hit you guys with a really funny filmography from one of the actors in this?
Shoot
Okay.
it.
So the filmography for the dad in Lady and the Tramp,
The live action?
yeah, is dad in Lady and the Tramp and main kid in Project X,
What's Project X?
He's the main
And
kid
that's
from
it.
Project X.
and that's it.
Hey,
what a
I think
wild,
he's
what
getting
a wild
some
ride!
jobs.
What a wild. You've never seen Project X?
I don't know what that is.
It's pretty much. It's kind of like super bad, I guess. Like kids are,
Yeah.
are trying to throw the craziest
Like
party they can
more
possibly
vulgar.
throw.
like a more vulgar
high
Superbad.
schoolers banging and doing drugs.
That's
and
exactly
drinking.
right.
That's exactly
Yeah.
It's
what I
high
wanna watch.
schoolers like acquiring everything, like
You ever
nerdy high
wonder
schoolers trying to have a
why
crazy
Hollywood
party.
has such an obsession with displaying high schoolers boning?
Because they're. I don't want to say
because
it.
they're really
I don't want to say the elephant in
twisted
the room.
people.
You don't want to say the p word, but
Because they're,
Yeah.
'cause they're gross. Because Hollywood is.
I don't want to
is a
say
disease.
the
Pizzagate.
I don't want to say the e word, but Epstein.
Do you guys know? You guys know Pizzagate?
Does this have to do with luring kids in with pizza?
Sure does.
I literally just guessed that. It sounds,
Look it up.
It sounds terrible.
No,
We're
thanks.
not going to get into this content here,
Nah, I
but
don't want to. I don't want to. You want to wrap up? We're hitting in exactly an hour. This will be our shortest podcast ever. I mean, I
don't
just
know
feel
if
like
I-
there's not much more to say.
Jakob didn't even watch that.
Jakob was like,
Nah, he's
I
not
know.
watching
He
this.
talked to me.
I forgot.
No, guys, I run into Jakob in like the weirdest places.
yeah.
Yeah, like I was in the Taco Bell drive-thru and I looked at my window and it was him on his his penny farthing bicycle. And I was like,
Yeah,
I don't know
and
if you
he had the hat on.
yeah, I was like, I don't know if you can drive that to a drive-thru.
He had the biker hat on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
He's
That's
such
him.
a-
He
such
wouldn't be
weird
seen
dude.
dead at a Taco Bell, dude. He's way too high class.
No,
for
he
You
was
see
there.
that bod?
That's why I was so weird. I was like, so what are you doing here? He's like, oh, I'm just going to tell them that their food sucks.
Oh,
God.
yeah,
And
I
I
think
was
it's a
like,
lie.
what
Though.
is
He
there?
might
But
be-
I mean, he's like politely waiting through the drive-thru. I was like, this feels like a waste
I think
of
he's
time.
one of those genetic freaks
But-
that just eats whatever he wants, and he's still just a Greek god.
He's just there to send a message from PETA that Taco Bell does not abide by.
I have another
health
half-assed research.
Yeah.
It is.
Well, let me finish my Jakob story. I asked
Oh,
him
yeah,
about,
sorry,
I asked him about
yeah.
Lady and the Tramp,
What did he say?
and he was like, I don't like spaghetti, and that's all he said. He was like, it's fair enough.
Weird guy. I'm sure he's going to have suggestions for what our next movies are going to be like
I mean,
after the Disney.
Yeah.
He's been
So
texting
yeah,
me
hit us with your
suggestions.
half-assed research.
Do you guys ever play Crash Bandicoot?
I mean, ish. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a character in Crash Bandicoot called Ripperoo, and he takes his laugh from the hyena laugh in the original movie. You know the high-pitched hyena laugh in the original movie?
Yeah.
At the zoo?
Original
yeah.
what movie?
The
Lady and the Tramp.
Oh yeah.
Ripperoo and Crash Bandicoot. Same sound.
Wow.
And I just wanted to bring it up because I was very impressed by myself
That
by
you actually-
hearing
you
the
were able to-
hyena laugh, and I
Oh,
was
you
like, that's
recognized
from
it.
something.
Oh, that's funny.
That's from Ripperoo.
Nice.
Well,
I
no,
like that.
Ripperoo is from this. This is 55.
No. I said that correctly.
He meant what he said. He meant it.
Did I stutter?
Crash Bandicoot's been around far longer. I know that.
He meant every word
the
of what he
original
said.
Crash Bandicoot was chiseled like ones and zeros chiseled onto the stone tablet in
It's like
ancient
Pong.
caves.
Yeah, it was Pong.
So yeah, I got no more final thoughts.
So nobody has any kind of connection to this movie, right? Like out of the three of us, nobody grew
Once
up
again,
watching
I
this.
no. So I know I watched it when I was a kid. Only remember the spaghetti scene, and then later the Siamese cats. But after watching it, I was like, okay, yeah, I remember that he goes to the pound, and yeah, but I vaguely remember everything that happens.
Is it
It's
worse?
just-
Is it worse that you have a racially insensitive moment and it be like the most memorable? It makes it worse that it's in such
Well, I think
such
it's
a
more like it's one of the musical moments.
unironic movie because then like it's one of the only things you remember. You're like, oh hey,
I think the only reason I remember it is because
that's that movie with like the two cats. that are just,
That was one of the two scenes we remembered
Yeah.
going into this. Yeah.
I guess.
Now, why do they keep the Scottish stereotype,
Well, that's what I was
but
wondering.
they
Where I'm
remove
like,
everything else?
I don't know.
Because Scottish people are white and it's okay to be racist.
Oh, yeah,
towards
what
them.
Yeah.
And the Italian guys. I mean, the guys at the restaurant were like the most stereotypically Italian thing imaginable.
In the live action, the
Yeah.
Italian guy was Asian.
It's like, what is it about things like Asian stereotypes, Mexican stereotypes that are just so you can't, and definitely not black stereotypes. You can't do any of those.
I
think you know.
It's
I-
because
I think
it's
you know the
because-
answer.
It's because
they're better than us. It's because Hollywood.
No, it's because Asian people and black people and Hispanic people don't have any power, which is why Asians make more than anyone else in the United States.
Soundbite. Someone's gonna cut that. Just that 5 seconds.
No, that's legitimately the argument, right?
Yeah, which is
the
silly.
reason that it's okay to discriminate against white. Which again, we say white, but that's like saying, that's like calling all Hispanic people Mexican. That's as broad reaching as that. It's like no.
Yeah.
You have the reason we say Hispanic or Latino is because Latinx is because it's
Woof.
a lot. We're trying to refer to general Spanish-speaking country regions, but the cultures from like Argentina and Mexico and Honduras are very, very different.
Right.
They just speak the same language. It's like saying like, well, are you American? Well, are you U.S.? When we say American, we mean U.S., but Canadian, English,
Yeah.
British,
Yeah, yeah.
Welsh, because we're all speaking English, right?
Right.
You don't lump them together, but then for some reason, white gets lumped together as a skin tone, but everyone else gets lumped together as like a culture. It's very weird, and it doesn't make any sense. But
Don't care.
Yeah,
I
I don't need to go off into the whole Marxism is BS.
All I know is that there is now an AI that Nathaniel has showed me that you can upload 30 seconds of somebody talking, and it will copy their voice, and then you can just write
does a
anything,
really good job.
and it has
It's
them
scary.
say it. And I had my friend talk about how wrong he was that the Lions were good, and this is what it sounds like.
Listen, I was wrong. All right, the Lions do suck, but how was I supposed to know that I was a simpleton? It's not like I ever really know what I'm talking about. So please do yourself a favor and don't listen to me.
That is Can you send me the link to that?
I can say
Is it free?
Yes.
I'm going to
So-
obliterate my friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Dude.
so
Oh my
I
God.
have one of Obama saying the only reason we lose is because you don't believe enough. It's fantastic.
So
what a
the
wild
great thing
world out
about
there.
that
It's wild,
is that
wild.
yeah, one you can get your friends, but you can also have like really famous people trash your friends. Like you could have Donald Trump just be like, "Listen, Liam, I've been meaning to tell you, you're terrible. You're terrible."
That sounds like Christopher Walken. By
That's
the way.
exactly what I use it for. That's exactly what I use it for. I remember
Wow.
calling out one of my friends I play League of Legends with. He's like, "Look, I like Tony, but he's a terrible jungler."
I can't wait.
Dude, it's about to tear this podcast up because
Yeah.
I'm about to
I'm about to
play
put some bites
all
on
of the
the
drunk
soundboard.
messages you've left me.
No, no, I haven't done it. I haven't done anything.
And guess who
I'm
has
innocent.
guess who has access to all of the sound bites to upload? Me. So I'm gonna destroy you guys.
That's awesome. I fully
We should
support
have
you. That's hilarious.
we should have an AI off.
An AI off.
We should have an AI off where we each make clips of the other person and see who did the best job making AI clips of everyone else.
Okay.
Mine's easy fodder. You guys are just say I have shit takes. It's obviously
We
gonna
do,
be
we
the
do.
bit.
But here's the thing. What we could do is we can force you to have good takes.
Oh, now that would be a twist.
I wanted just. I don't even want to say this because I want it to happen. I'm not going to say
Don't
it.
say it. Don't say it.
I'm not going to
Surprise me.
Yeah, I'm going to surprise you.
Okay.
Okay.
We could actually get Jakob to talk.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
that's exactly-
we're gonna do
that's
an
exact-
audio. We will have
We'll
an audio.
find-
Not that we need AI. We're gonna actually record a Jakob live, and we'll do an audio.
Wait, so
Jakob.
you just need to upload a video of them talking.
Yeah.
And then
just an MP3, like so
Right,
it can be a
right,
video, but it can also just be an MP3, but it's got to be at least 30 seconds. So like I had my buddy, I had like recorded him talking trash about like my volleyball team a long time ago. It's like a minute long. I just interviewed him like, "What do you think about our team?" And he's like, "You guys all suck." So I had this video and I just like throw it on there. And then I just typed a sentence, and it came out. And like they even have inflection, where he's just like you heard him there. He's like,
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
there's, and he's like sighing.
It's so realistic.
Crazy.
Yeah.
It's wild. And then you can just hit apply again, and he'll say the same exact thing, but he'll have different connotations and
That's
stuff.
insane.
And it's down. It's
very cool.
It's creepy.
creepy, but kind of cool. It's a lot of fun.
So speaking of Lady and the Tramp, literally anything is more interesting topic than this movie.
Right.
We're so sorry, guys.
So I mean, yeah, but that's Lady and the Tramp. Let us know if you remember anything besides the spaghetti scene.
Yeah.
So what are we doing next?
Okay.
And keep in mind, will be the end of the Disney run.
Yes. So, well, first, let me tell you guys where you can find us. As Nathaniel throws up our broken slide.
Wait. Ding. Daily debate.
God, it's so sad. Why did I never know that?
I mean, it's been like 3 months and you haven't fixed it. So.
So the audio only version of this podcast can be found on Spotify under the Dearly Debated,
Or anywhere you get your podcast.
or anywhere you get your podcast. And there's also audio exclusive versions of these that are just the Dearly Debated, that aren't the deep dives.
Yes.
This is the podcast 4D. Or the 4D podcast. I always forget because I'm dyslexic which way we decided to roll that. But
This is the D4 podcast.
but you can find all that on Spotify at Dearly Debated. You can also check us out on YouTube, The Dearly Debated. And if you'd like to see more of me and Nathaniel's content, check us out at The Kitchen Chemist. We are also on YouTube. We're posting out new content. Season 2 is underway. A lot of funny stuff coming out. Nathaniel's doing a good job posting out that stuff. We're having a lot of fun. So give
My
us a like
favorite
and a
is
follow.
we did the Kool-Aid tasty testers or testy tasters. I always mix that up. Testy
Dyslexic.
tasters is clever, but tasty testers is the one that you think it would be.
Accurate. Yeah.
Yeah. But so we're doing the Kool-Aid one, and then we tried a bunch of different Kool-Aids, and then we had all these little singles of like the Crystal Delight or
Oh yeah,
you know
like
what I'm
the
talking about?
Skittles
Yeah.
versions.
And
yeah.
they're like Skittles and Starburst. And so I was just like, this video is too long. So I just clipped out just our reactions to that instead of like us introducing it and shaking up the bottle. I just did our reaction. So it's mostly us going, no, blah, blah. And the pink Starburst one, we take a sip and Greg just goes, and that's it. Just move on to the next one.
So if you want to watch us there, give us a like, follow, subscribe. We love it. And yeah, so next week, guys, we're to the end of our Disney marathon.
We made it.
Glad we did it. There's been a lot of stinkers in the hair.
Yeah,
man.
but this was cool. This was
Was
always
that 4 months?
This
4 or
is
5 months?
Yeah.
wow. When you
Maybe
say
it's-
it
It
like
was
that.
so it's 21 movies, I think, and we were 2 weeks apart on each of them, so 42 weeks. So that can't be right.
No. 21 movies
Right, divided by two.
divided by
10, so
two per 2 weeks.
no,
So
21 different movies though.
so that's 21 different weeks because it's 2 per 2
Right.
weeks. So it's 21 weeks.
No, but 21 different movies that had 2 versions. I'll
Oh,
yeah.
really? Have we been
Yes.
going for that long?
No.
No way.
21.
This is episode 11.
Yeah, well, we had one that was Oppenheimer.
Right.
So 10.
10.
So 11 will be the next one.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll run the math. But
Yeah,
this
it's like
is-
4 months.
Yeah, we've been going for like 4 months.
Yeah.
Anyways, so we are doing Mulan next week.
Yay.
So chat.
And also, boo.
Everybody listening, go watch the original. Dig through the live action. It's going to be worth it if you jump on
So
the cast with us.
my
in 2
my
weeks.
recommendation is watch the original, watch the live action, then watch the original again, just to clean it out of your memory.
Cleanse
Just
the palate.
The original is it's one of the
phenomenal.
best.
Might
It's
be my number one.
It's phenomenal. It's an amazing movie. The songs in it are really great.
The songs are great, but more than that, I think the story is
Yeah.
just so good.
It's
the-
funny. It's
to a degree that none of now this one I have actually. This is one of the few ones where I have actually watched live action, and I will just say
you're the only one.
The live action fundamentally alters the story in a way that completely destroys it.
I've never seen
And
it.
even people
I'm looking
who are
forward to it.
much
Yeah.
more, even people who are much more kind to movies than I am, I've been told, "Oh, you criticize too much." I'm like, "No, I just have better taste than you." Where they're like, "Oh, you criticize
with
too
his
much."
painter hat.
It felt appropriate for the era of Lady and the Tramp.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks
The-
good.
The,
You look good.
I always look good.
All right. Take it easy.
Cool down.
Settle down.
Yeah, it's even people who are much kinder to movies were like, "That is not a good movie. It's an abomination." So brace yourself. It's not very enjoyable.
The best content is the polarizing ones.
Yeah, it's
Yes,
either
but-
they're
so it should
really
be a
good
good
or
one.
really bad.
but the
So
live
this
action is not particularly fun to watch.
So in 2 weeks, what's the date on that? 2 weeks from now,
Hey, Key, it'll be in November. It's November 7th.
Yeah.
November. Hey, my birthday's the 11th.
Hey.
Oh
wear
shoot, we were
birthday
supposed to wear
hats.
costumes because this is our closest to Halloween cast. Wah, wah.
Wow.
We'll do it the next time. We'll do it.
I have a
late.
pirate costume. I guess you'll see me in that on Thursday.
All right. So do we dress up on November 7th?
Nah, you
No.
don't dress up past Halloween. Lame.
So, I
That's,
mean,
that's
okay.
funny though.
I've also already worn my pirate hat. We could if we want to. I'll do it.
I'm game. I'll dress up. It's our last one.
Okay.
Come on. It's
Okay, sure.
It's our,
Be
it's
a
our last
sport.
for the
I'll wear my
Be a
minion
sport
outfit.
guy.
I'm gonna be a minion.
All right. So gosh, I'm going to be
Yes.
producing that one too. So I'll be behind the.
Yep.
All right. So we're dressing up. We'll be here on the 7th.
So that means
8 p.m.
viewers, you also need to be dressed up.
Yeah.
You don't have to be out and about where people can see you, but you do need to be wearing.
Make sure you
costumes.
tune in so you guys can give us some feedback on our costumes.
Yeah, we definitely want
watch Mulan. The
Oh,
original.
good, you're producing,
Watch,
so I can actually wear my eye patch and not have to
watch
worry
the
about.
watch the remake. It's gonna be worth it. Join with us and
It's gonna be.
and if you guys have any questions, movies you'd like us to watch.
Oh yeah. Well, before we move on, why don't we talk about what we're doing after we're done with Disney?
Yeah, so immediately after the 2 weeks after Mulan, we will have our rankings episode. We'll go into a little bit more in depth about that on the Mulan episode, but we're going to have several different categories of ranking, whether it's best live action, best original, best songs, like best.
I'll make little Oscars, and then I'll make little poop Oscars for the worst.
Yes.
And yeah, we'll do a bottom tier, and we'll try to do an aggregate tier where we're combining all of ours, and we'll see because I think
We'll do our best.
Well, we're gonna have a lot of varying. We'll find some system to do that, but it'll be a fun episode. It'll just be a lot of ranting, a lot of talking. I'm sure chat will get involved just because we'll be talking about a myriad of different movies. It's not going to be shoehorned to one. So that'll be a lot of fun. And then after that, the format is going to change. I know a lot of people have been saying, "Oh, you guys are that Disney podcast, right?" That's not what we are. We're
Not really.
We're a
anymore.
movie podcast. We just been going through a Disney series. Now we are going to be moving into a pick a movie
A
phase.
rotato.
Rotation where one of us will pick a movie. All three of us will watch it. In 2 weeks, we'll discuss it, and it'll continue to rotate with the intention that we'll have guests on, maybe you guys at home, to tell us one of your movies that you'd like us to watch. We all watch it. We all watch it in that 2 week span. You come in, we have you as a guest on the show, and we discuss it together. So if you enjoy watching the show, be thinking about that. Be thinking of a movie you'd love to watch, that you'd love us to watch, that you can come and sit down and discuss with us,
Or that you just want us to watch that you think we should watch.
Yeah.
If you're not, if you don't want to.
Yeah, start filling up the chat with that stuff because we're definitely opening up our possibilities a lot more here than
kind of be free form. It'll
Yeah.
be we'll let you know what movie we're watching in advance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it'll be kind of a week to week thing. We'll be rotating who picks. So I'm thinking I'm going to go more like classic movies because I want to watch Liam squirm as he watches black and white movies.
Gotta culture this young man.
Yeah, this imbecile.
But it should be really fun. We're excited for it, and yeah. Until next time, we have been the Dearly Debated.
See ya. Shavli says, "I refuse Mulan as I refuse Little Mermaid, but if I must, I'm watching it for Greg." So there you go.
Thanks.
Dedicated.
It's worse than Little Mermaid by a million degrees, but enjoy. Goodbye.